A lot of people aren't aware of this, but there are a lot of Google Ads conversion settings that you can adjust to help your ads perform better. So I just wanted to go through kind of an overview of some of these different settings so that you have a better understanding of exactly what's going on here. So if you go over to goals and then under conversions, you'll click this little drop down here, you'll see summary. That's going to bring you to a page that looks like this. And this is a lead generation campaign for a local service, that we're selling essentially. It's going to be a little bit different for e-commerce, but that's kind of out of the context of this video. So there's a couple of major conversion actions, which is what these are called. You can see they say conversion action up here. Conversion actions are basically just objectives, like different conversions that you're trying to go after to get leads in the case of a lead generation campaign. And you can see we have submit lead form here. We've got calls from ads, first time phone calls, repeat phone calls, and then we're actually not even really using this one, which is just phone calls. But these are going to be the main ones, like people filling out a form on your website or people calling you. And there's two different ways people can call you. They can call you directly from the ads. So that's like if you have an extension in your ads, which we're actually not using in this account. So you can see that there's no data here. But instead, we're trying to track people who go to a landing page and then call us, which is tracked through these first time phone calls and repeat phone calls right here. So if we click on this first one, submit lead form, it's going to pop open this window with some different settings. You can see it says settings here. There's a whole bunch of different settings in here. So if we click edit settings, I'll just walk you through these. So you have the conversion name. Of course, you can go and change this at any time. Save the changes. And then there's this action optimization here. Sometimes people have a whole bunch of conversion actions in their account because they're trying to set things up. They couldn't figure out how it works. And so they have like a bunch of primary actions, and they're not aware of the fact that anything that's set to a primary action, as long as it's associated with a campaign, Google's going to try to optimize for that action. You can see it basically explains that right here. If we switch it over to secondary, that means it'll still track in your account and it'll show under the all conversions column. But Google's not going to try to optimize to get those conversions. It's just going to allow you to track them. So this is good if you want to track people who click on a button that opens a pop-up or something, or people who click on a button that goes to another page. It's some intermediary action that's likely to lead to a conversion, but it's not something you technically want Google Ads to optimize for. So if you have a bunch of conversion actions that you've set up and they're not working and not firing, and you have a couple that are working and you're trying to optimize for, you can go to the ones that you don't really care to have Google optimize for. You can set those as secondary conversion actions, and then make sure to set the primary conversion actions as the ones you want to actually optimize for. And it's giving the example of submit lead form. So if somebody fills out the form on our website, we want to know that that's happening, and we want Google Ads to optimize to get more of those form submissions. Then we have the conversion value. There's a couple different ways you can set this up. There's a point system, so if you don't know what the value of a conversion is, you can just do no currency set. And then it's on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest value, 10 being the highest value, and you can just do it on like a point system. I personally like to track the actual value of the conversions so that we can get an understanding of what the return on the investment is in the account. And that's just called ROAS, return on ad spend. I don't want to get too deep into the technical knowledge, but basically we want to figure out for every dollar we put into the ads, how many dollars are we getting back? And, like in this example, we're getting a 429% return on an ad spend, which means for every dollar we put into the ads, we get $4.29 back, which is awesome, right? Who wouldn't want that? It's like a 4x return on your ad spend. And that's calculated through this conversion value here. And so like for auto detailing, it might take 2, 3 leads, 4 leads to get a sale. It really just depends. I think this is a pretty conservative estimate here, because there's a lot of variables involved, so we would like to be a little bit on the conservative side. So let's say each detail is worth $240 and it takes 4 leads to get a conversion. We can just set the conversion action value at $60, which means after we get 4 conversions, it's going to be worth $240. So 60 times 4 is 240, which means we're going to get a pretty accurate assessment of the value of the leads that are coming through the ads, right? So you set the currency, set the actual value, which is usually just dividing the value of a customer by how many leads it takes to get a customer. That'll give you the value here. You can put that in and make sure to save that. And then this source here is not really editable, so we'll just skip that. And then this is pretty important. So especially with something like lead form submissions, we really only want to count one value. So it says recommended for leads, signups, and other conversions, because only the first interaction is valuable. So like if somebody comes to our landing page and they fill out the form 3 times because it's not working properly or something like that, or it's not loading quick enough so they don't think it's working, so they fill it out 3 different times, or they're just, who knows what's going on, we don't want that to track as like 3 different conversions or 4 different conversions. We only want it to show up as 1 conversion. The difference sometimes with like phone calls is going to be slightly different, or a purchase, right? So a purchase would be one where you want to count every single transaction. So if one person comes to the website, they buy something, then they buy another thing, you want to track both of those as purchases, right? But for a majority of lead generation, it's going to be a one-time thing. You just want to count the first one. And so that's going to give us a little bit more accurate data. The click-through conversion window, sometimes people interact with your ads multiple times, right? And so we're giving Google some time to record. It's basically setting a window of 30 days. After 30 days, it's going to refresh the data. We tend to not manipulate this too much. You can play around with it if you want, but the default is 30 days. It tends to work pretty well. Engaged view conversion window. This is, you can see this is for video engagement. So if you're running video ads, that's going to be relevant. But yeah, most people are running search ads, so we don't really do a whole lot through that. And then you can select the maximum timeline after a person views your ad that you want to count view through conversions, which again is going to be more related to this video stuff here. So really, these two are really mostly relevant for video. So that's if you're running YouTube ads. And then this is pretty important, the attribution. So Google has started rolling out this new data-driven attribution model, which I would recommend using. And basically what it does is it figures out, excuse me, it figures out based on all the interactions with your ads, what interactions led to an actual conversion. And then it's going to distribute the value of the conversion across those different interactions with the ads. So if somebody does a search for one thing, they click on your ad, they see what you have going on, then they're not convinced that they want to reach out. So they do another search, they look at a bunch of other websites, and then they finally decide to reach out to you. It's kind of like both of those ads actually helped lead to a conversion, because they saw you at one time and they maybe like had you in the back of their mind, and then after looking at all the other competitors, they decided they wanted to go with you. And so it's important to know that both of those clicks on those ads led to a conversion, and that will start giving you like partial conversion values. I'm not sure if we can see it here. Might show, but what it'll do sometimes is start showing you fractions of conversions. So this will be like 1.5, this will be 1.5. Well, these are the same keywords, so maybe it's like 1.5 here and then like 0.5 here. So they did a search, they clicked on this ad, and then led them to do another search and click on this ad, and then they became a conversion. So it's going to split it 50% to each of these search terms. And so that's through the data-driven attribution model, and I think it uses AI essentially to figure out exactly how to distribute the conversions. So this is something I would definitely recommend using, but you can select different ones. So it's like last click is going to be basically the last ad that people clicked on. It's going to get all the credit. First click, like a lot of these are no longer available, so you basically just have these two. I would recommend using data-driven attribution here. And then you have the enhanced conversion tracking. And enhanced conversion tracking is a new thing that they're rolling out where it's going to safely pass the user's data into Google Ads. So Google and all browsers are starting to get rid of cookies, which are basically just little bits of information that get stored on people's computers and phones when they're browsing the internet. And it shares data so that Google knows who's clicking on what ads and all this different stuff. Don't really need to get too deep into the weeds on that. But they're starting to get rid of that for privacy reasons. And so if you really want to know, like, for instance, if you're wanting to do retargeting and you're wanting to show your ads to all the people who've already visited your website, using enhanced conversions is going to allow Google to know which users were actually on your website. It's going to give you a lot better, more accurate data. It's really just designed to enhance Google's knowledge of what type of people are coming to your website and clicking on your ads and becoming leads and all that, because it can't get that data from cookies anymore. This is a bit of an advanced setup. You don't have to have this necessarily in order for your ads to perform well, but if you can get it set up, it can certainly help. So that's the major settings for a submit lead form conversion action. It's actually going to be quite similar for the rest of these. So let's check out this first time phone calls. We actually did set a higher value for first time phone calls because typically if somebody calls in, they get on the phone with you, there's going to be a high chance that they're going to convert into a customer. And this one is kind of an offline conversion tracking, so we're using call tracking software to pass the data into Google Ads. And so it's going to have more limited options here. But for this one, we're using every conversion because it's passing, it's the first time phone call, right? So it's already separating first time phone calls versus repeat phone calls through our call tracking software. And so we actually want it to track every single call that comes through here because it's importing from a third-party tool. But most of the rest of this is all going to be the same, and that's kind of true for most of these conversion actions. They're all going to be very similar the way that they're set up. So that's basically it. That's the summary of Google Ads conversion settings. I hope you did find this helpful. If there's anything you did have questions about, don't hesitate to reach out. You can just drop your questions in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to get back to them there. Look, if you're the type of person that just doesn't even want to deal with Google Ads anymore, then you can always reach out to me. My company is Missoula SEO Geek. I'll leave a link to my website down below, but we do manage Google Ads for different companies in different industries, and you can come learn about what we do, what makes us unique. You can even read some of the testimonials from some businesses that we've taken from 0 to over $1 million in revenue, like this one here. And really just see that, this is the type of thing that's going to explode your business growth. So feel free to reach out. You can always give us a call or contact us through our website, and we'll look forward to working with you.